Okay, so the MG4, not top of the sales in China by any means. However, the MG4 in the UK and Europe is absolutely smashing it, absolutely knocking it out the park in Europe and the UK. Not so much in China. Not sure the reasons why. To be fair, the car is quite a nice looking car. It's quite angular, looks quite aggressive. Maybe the Chinese don't like that style of car and they'd rather have these bubble shaped cars. The BYD Seal and Sea Lion are a little bit like that. They're not quite so angular as what the MG4 is. They are a little bit more curvy, shall we say. So yeah, maybe the Chinese market likes the curvaceous look of an EV. MG4 have just dropped, or MG rather, have just dropped the new design of the MG4. And guess what? It's a little bit more curvy and it's not particularly to my taste either. So sometimes when I post these videos, people will literally just reply back within seconds going, rubbish car. And yet they've probably never seen one, probably never sat in one, and almost definitely have never driven one. And it's the ICE knuckle draggers who, just don't like change, obviously don't like the environment or the environment they're leaving for their kids, or waiting 10 minutes for it to charge a little bit more over waiting at a queue at a petrol station at sort of 6:30 in the morning, freezing cold, whereas my car charges while I'm in my warm, comfy bed. Obviously, that's a little bit too much for them, so they don't particularly like it, which is absolutely fine. Everybody is entitled to their own opinion, but I wouldn't necessarily say that I don't like Jaguars because they're a rubbish car. I've never owned one, and as far as I know, I've never driven one. But these people are out there. They just think that everybody's against them, and they don't like these because it's been imposed on them by the government. Well, taxes are imposed on you by the government. National insurance is imposed on you by the government. We have to pay green levy charges on our electric because it's imposed on you by the government. Alcohol is limited to over 18s only because it's imposed on you by the government. You can see where I'm going with this. And yet, I'm pretty sure that they would all agree with those regulations that the government have put in place. I'm fairly sure that they would. Might be mistaken, they might not. They might like giving vodka to under 12s and not paying national insurance or tax dodging in some way or other. But the rest of us in society do our bit. And yeah, it's the right thing to do. And there is evidence already that towns and cities that have got congestion charges in place and are restricting vehicles cities and the increasing number of EVs in these areas, there is already evidence that the air quality is slowly beginning to improve, which can only be a good thing for everybody, really. So the MG4, I've had this for about 9 months now, and I absolutely love it. It is a very comfortable, quiet car to drive. It responds rapidly, even in normal mode. I've got the standard range, and I think off the top of my head, it's about 170 brake horsepower. I might be misquoting that. It definitely feels faster than any of the other cars that I've had, and I've had cars up to 150 brake horsepower, so this is definitely more rapid. All the torque is the lower end. And then when you put it onto sports mode, that full BHP comes to life. Yeah, it's rapid, which makes driving it so much more fun and enjoyable. So last summer we did a trip down from the Midlands all the way down to Cornwall and toured around the Cornwall area. It was the most relaxing drive I've ever done. I drive on business a lot and I have different types of hire cars through the business. They've all been petrol so far over the last couple of years, and I've not really found one that I like. The Kia Ceed is quite a nice car. I quite like that. But generally, they've all been a little bit mediocre. So like that, no hesitation whatsoever pulling out on junctions. The car just responds and accelerates, which is brilliant. Just what I want out of a vehicle that I'm driving. Sitting on the motorway, it's pretty effortless, really. Cruises along, no major concerns. The only criticism that I do have of it is that when you put the adaptive cruise control on, which means that the car will slow down and accelerate as the traffic does, there is a little bit of a lag between, I don't know, you pull out into one lane to overtake, it takes a couple of seconds for the car to realize that you've moved into a lane and there's nothing in front of you, and then accelerates. The Kia Ceed that I had a couple of weeks ago on work business, that was more responsive, so I kind of noticed it a little bit more now. But it just eats up the miles. Later this week, I'm heading down to Silverstone. There's an EV show in Silverstone this week, so I'm heading down there and I'm going to be taking my camera and I'm going to be doing plenty of videoing of the cars that are down there. It's about a 2.5 hour drive, and I've got to stop off part way back to probably give it a recharge because it's probably about 120-ish miles. There, I've got the standard range, so I'll stop off part of the way back, give it a quick recharge. But again, I'm just charging enough to get me home. Then I can put it on my ultra cheap charger in the house. I mean, at the minute, I'm still getting free charging from British Gas. Part of the tariff that I got when I got the car was to move to British Gas with their charger. And I think it's around 200 kilowatts of electricity free a year for the first year of it. So I'm coming up to the end of that contract soon. But then I'll drop it down to a different one, which might be 7 or 8 pence per kilowatt for EV charging. So again, a lot cheaper than the tariffs that they charge at the motorway services of 79.84p a kilowatt. The government really needs to do something about that to try and entice people over to buying more EV cars. But anyway, so yeah, that's it really. Nothing major to complain about the car. It performs well, it's responsive, everything is still solid, there's nothing loose, nothing rattling on there, it just works. And it's probably one of the cheaper EVs that is on the market. I think these are still around about the 26,000–27,000 pound mark. However, you can get some really good deals on second-hand ones. One thing that the media and the ICE brigade like to spread is all the false rumours about the batteries. Well, that kind of works in the favor if you're looking to buy one, because you could get a second-hand MG4 for probably between 14 and 17,000 with very few miles on it, maybe under 15,000 if that. And even then, the battery, it's not even been touched. It really hasn't. Don't believe all the myths that you hear on the news and the media about batteries and having to replace them every 20,000 miles at £10,000. It's just complete and utter rubbish, for better of words. It's just not true. That goes for pretty much all the EVs as well. If you're considering getting an EV, I would seriously recommend looking at the MG4, especially before the new face model comes out next year. I think it is maybe the end of this year, but next year. I prefer this one with the more angular panels and lights and everything on it. But, you know, each to their own. Again, it's every person's opinion of what's nice and what isn't. I mean, yeah. So that's it, really. That's a bit of a wrap up. I will be doing a more in-depth wrap up in a month or two once I've had it for 12 months. I'm going to do a first year review of it as well. Go around the vehicle and just explain everything about what's changed in the last 12 months, what I've done to the car as far as modifications, and how the car's performed overall. So yeah, why don't you go and check out this latest video about the top 10 EV cars in the UK at the moment, and let's see where MG is on that list. Thanks for watching. Till next time. Bye bye.